gate red? Why? Well, we've got a potential answer. The answer. Here's our starting. This is what we're going to work through today. And there's a short answer to the question. Time gates appear blue if created by natural forces or anti-annihilation. Man-made gates appear red. But if you'll notice here, that red gate starts blue. Even if a gate opens red, it looks blue when you approach it. See? Then it's red.
Time gates. The evidence for this, once again, can be missed if you don't do one of the end game side quests.
Okay. This was interesting. Alrighty, I will. Do this now. Okay. Anti-Annihilation. Chrono trigger has been called a series of climaxes. I forgot who called it that. Gameplay. This makes this imbues, this gives the gates . I'm just going to type it out word for word and explain it. This gives the gates a lore viable reason why things would keep needing a world-saving group of heroes to intervene. That sounds not perfect, but what it means is, so anti-annihilation. So it's just this term that's thrown around in Chrono Cross, in Chronopolis, anti-annihilation energy. But we're going to tie it to the gameplay mechanics of Chrono Trigger because one astute YouTuber or someone noticed, not me, that this is one of the coolest things that what they noticed was blue, the time gates all appear before moments of great tragedy, right? Big deal, I hear you saying. Big deal. And it is a big deal. Because that means, to me, that implies our first a connection to a potential anti-annihilation energy. Because the gates are appearing, let me just write down what I'm talking about first. Word for word off of this post that someone noticed this. So the gates in Chrono Trigger. You've got the 1 in 65 million BC, and that's right before the Reptite extinction. Then you've got the fall of Zeal, and that is just before the fallen continents disaster, which kills so many people. Then you have the Human Mystic War of 600 AD, Human Mystic War. Mass genocide. Day of Lavos speaks for itself. (1000 AD). Well, that one doesn't have a mass extinction event, does it? But what this post said was the fall of Guardia, or Second Human Mystic War. I don't know if any of that's ever... We're going to skip that one. We're going to say that maybe the anti-annihilation... Let's just skip that one for now. But then 2300, human extinction at machine hands. Okay. So we can now delete that and take a screenshot to show on the stream. Okay, is finished. Remember, we left 1000 blank. because I can't think of a major disaster in 1000. What we're talking about now is how all the gates in Chrono Trigger lead to a mass extinction event shortly after it happens. So we're tying that into an anti-annihilation energy. We're saying there's a good chance that if the planet is manifesting something to save itself, aka anti-annihilation energy, or not even save itself, but just save, I don't know, like the amount of life, save life. All of these events are huge loss of life. You have the reptile extinction and (12,000 BC falling continents, 600 AD human mystic war, Day of Lavos, 1999. Oops, I got those backwards. Okay, so we're saying that anti-annihilation energy, you know, when Robo's talking about the planets forming, the entity wanting to help or whatever, it could be scientific as well as metaphysical. The entity trying to help is essentially, if there's a huge catastrophe, anti-annihilation energy is going to pool in crucial time periods to the buildup of these massive catastrophes, and it's going to create a time gate. That's our theory. And those would be blue. Those are planet-created time gates. That's what we're going with. That's one example, and the biggest example of anti-annihilation energy in the SCOM. So let's keep reading about that. It says Pico has observed that gates form just prior to massive extinction events, but in reality that was a YouTuber, some YouTube comment, and I'm sorry I did not write down your name, whoever noticed that. It's just one example of using the gameplay to inform the story. Pico has observed. It doesn't even have to be Pico in story. It could be many, several people have observed. Anyone studying time gates might observe. Oh, that's good. Anyone... I lost the font that I like. Son of a gun. Okay. Anyone observing time gates? That sounds so dumb. Anyone studying time gates may observe their tendency to appear a short time prior to mass extinction events. And of course, that is because that's what the storyline needed, but we can bend that and use it for science, for in-world science. That's the anti-annihilation energy. Alright, now this is the two interpretations. So Robo says could be A. Explanations include A. Due to the intervention, due to intervention of some thoughtful greater entity, that's Robo's interpretation, or possibly the result of anti-annihilation energy coalescing at critical moments in space-time. Critical being to preserve life forms, life on the planet, and that's Atropos' let's just say Atropos XR's interpretation. Cool, so they're not mutually exclusive either. It's important to add that you could have both of these opinions, and that doesn't mean that, they're not both right. Okay, cool, making progress. This one is actually not as long as it looked like. Just checking my spelling here. Okay, let's put these on the screen. So maybe we can just move to a more, that looks kind of janky. Let's move to a workspace. Okay, that's good enough. Okay. Next. This is more about Atropos' interpretation. Because she's like heavy into the science. She spent time in the darkness beyond time, where she studied up. Okay. Atropos theorizes and Luca may agree. Atropos theorizes that the planet creates the gates as a built-in protection for catastrophe. Gates. Okay, that's fine. She's a bit less romantic about it, but Robo and her philosophies are not exclusive. Okay, we've already said the rest. This doesn't rule out an entity. This does not rule out an entity. Robo says, does Robo say this or did I make this up? Now we simply understand more about the way the entity operates. This is too cheesy. Using anti, and I'm not even including this. Cheese factor. By definition, oh, here we go. This means that's really good for a storyline where you're constantly trying to tend to time gates in an open world that keeps changing, because by definition all accessible times and regions in the break are war-torn or about to befall a major catastrophe. See, there's your story reason for leveling up. Okay, we can include this. It says this is sort of a better way of saying that last thing. Blue gates usually form before a huge catastrophe. Whether this is due to anti-annihilation energy or the entity's will doesn't matter. It's the same result. Boop. And this also blue gates and still inspire a sense of urgency. So while you're out there running around, if you see a blue gate, you know that stepping through it means the other side is going to be in trouble. Did we finish this one yet? Not even close. Holy smokes. There's a lot here. Oh, great. There's only a little bit. This says, Luca calls these catastrophes markers in the ribbon of time when she explains the differences between a blue gate and a man-made red gate. Markers in the ribbon of time. Save and eliminate this. Yay, that's a good one. We just got rid of a big one. If you don't know what I'm talking about, which why would you? I'm talking about this. Let me explain the process real quick. Okay, replace. So here you have my workspace, and you can see all these white ones are my notes. And I want to turn it into a sweet file for the stream, so I'm going through and changing this white block with black text to this. And then it looks better when I talk about it. It's all about looks, although that is still kind of janky. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. What's going on? This video has been on forever. This is okay, bye. That was sort of an example of the imagined fighting style for this game. Okay. This is cool. But this also, this, you know what? This is perfect for this one. Duplicate this layer. Dang. Okay. Lavos permeates the atmosphere, which is what we want. Not Pico even. Just Lavos. Straight up. Because all the time crashes happening in the break would be controlled by the Fate, and she's controlled by Frozen Flame, so who do you think is going to benefit the most from the places that she crashes? It's going to be Lavos. So that's another... It's just super convenient that the story has this built-in finding and destroying element to it. Finding and defeating. And that's all thanks to this random anti-annihilation energy that they mentioned in Chrono Cross. Okay. Lavos permeates the atmosphere. In the overworld and other time spaces, let's just say, okay, Fate. Ah, no, I lost my font again. That's so aggro. What's the planet thinking now? What's the planet thinking now? The more gates that appear while you're in the break, the worse off your scenario. A healthy overworld. Let's change those two. The more gates that appear while you're in the overworld, the worse off your scenario. A healthy break, which is the true name for the overworld, a healthy break means running around and seeing few gates. That means you're doing your job as an arbiter. Endgame in quotes. I don't know why it's in quotes. You can see the effect of your do-gooding, I'll just say questing, based on the makeup of the overworld. If it's peaceful, green, etc., you just tend your garden. That sounds not quite direct enough. It doesn't have to be peaceful and green. If there are monsters everywhere, it's unhealthy? That's a weird way to put it. Let's just go straight to the successful. Okay, let's go back up. A healthy break means running around and seeing few gates and not so many monsters leaking into the world. That's what it's all about, you know. Monsters climbing through. You can see the effect of your questing. You can see how good your quotes, how good you are doing based on the state of the overworld. Okay, and we've talked about this before, but it bears, is that what they say? It bears repeating. We're gonna repeat it. What are we repeating? Blue gates in a broken world. If the timeline is broken, what does that mean? This makes traditional blue gates in the break not time gates at all, because time is broken. They are actually just space gates. Of course, this will never be mentioned. It's too goofy to actually talk about, but it's the truth. Used for teleportation across the vast map. So this is important. To get the idea, you jump into a blue gate and blue gates lead to high crisis points thanks to anti-annihilation energy. basically a player can jump through a blue gate 3x3 with a charge down time whenever they see one, and go to a part of the break that's being overrun by monsters. Blue gates, this is the most important part. Blue gates point the way to solvable story events. So that's how it affects the game mechanics. You're in the overworld, you see a blue gate. You don't have to go through it, but you know if you do, you can do some good on the other side. Okay, I think we've got all the info now, but it's just sort of disorganized. Okay, here's what it looks like now. See? Not so much white. Oops. Got that one last part to do. Man, these are really playing a bunch today. These beat 'em up ones. Let's go to the... Is that just chance, or did I leave it off random or something? No, because this is number 1. Playback is random. Well, you know what? I'm going to take that as a sign to edit them for next time. I think I'll take out the top part and put in a note about how this represents a potential style for the fighting. Okay, I marked that for editing, and now we're back to the Anti-Annihilation honor jars. Okay, we're just on the very last part of this topic now. It showcases the temporal dominance of Lavos more than simply taking over a single timeline. This is from a YouTube comment on one of my videos. I'm trying to... Viewers got good ideas. It's making its very idea to be the parasite that infects worlds in many timelines, pushing Lavos's influence into all available time zones, space-times. That's tangentially related, but it is important. And now it's written down. Okay, Lavos permeates the atmosphere. We know that. Lavos permeates the atmosphere. Lavos positive time spaces, Lavos positive, have recruited, I would say captured, but let's switch to captured. Captured the minds of others there. This leads to Lavos cults in many forms, including some who try to incorporate Lavos into their own DNA. Okay, this is tangential. This is about the Lavos cults, but it is related to how much Fate did a good job for her boss. She's a good worker. Lavos is the clear, overarching threat which multiple sub-enemies play into. I don't know what a sub-enemy is, but that's easy to imagine. Boom. Let's say Lavos, ever present. And I only have from the okay. Very nice. Boom. Only one left, everyone. Here, let's put that last one up. Boop. Lavos is ever present. Oh, don't look at that one. Can I get a pause? Do I need to go to my workspace? How about this one? That's nice. Oh! Okay. That was from a YouTube comment. I will find the name and give the credit before the final result, or you can find the quote on my page on the Dalton video. duplicate. Fate loves Lavos, intentionally or not. And why is that, everyone? Everyone knows why that is. Because of this. This is why. Because of the frozen flame. That's her power source. Fate loves Lavos, intentionally or not. That's a weird way of putting it, but we'll keep it for now. She is likely to crash time zones where Lavos has succeeded. Okay, let's rephrase that. Fate loves Lavos. Fate draws her power from the frozen flame, and thus she's most likely how is this so hard? Therefore, she's kind of like a crazy, she goes kind of crazy when she becomes the Vision Serpent, right? And so she's just time crashing willy-nilly, but those places most likely to be places where she's likely to crash time zones where Lavos succeeded. Oh, therefore, the time zones she's likely to crash... No, not likely. The time zones let's just say the realities she most wants to time crash into the break are ones in which Lavos succeeded. We'll change realities to space-times. All the data on Lavos that's another. Fate's plan is to pull, well, it was, because all Lavos positive time spaces and see his proliferation maximized. Pico, also influenced by the flame, does not have the inclination to resist this oversaturation. That's weirdly stated, but it basically means that he doesn't really know what she's doing either, and he doesn't really care. He lives in the darkness beyond time, and if she wants to do that, it doesn't matter to him one bit. And he's kind of interested in seeing I should include this. I'm going to repeat it on a different file. But we're done now. We're done now with this one. So we're going to review and call it. So wow, that's a lot. Look at this. Speaking of oversaturation, but this is cool. Look at this now. We got all that, all that, all that, all that, all that. And that one little white spot we're gonna do on a different file later. So we killed it. It doesn't look perfect yet, but I'll fix that up in post and put a nice video out that says all of that stuff. That can go into the stream. But we should review first. First, I will take this piece out. Sweet, man. Okay, we're ready to review. So today we are hammering out the final files for anti-annihilation energy, and this has a lot to do with the color of the gates. Anti-annihilation gates versus man-made. Oh, I know what I can do. This will be helpful. Here we go. Anti-annihilation versus man-made. Time gates will appear blue if created by natural forces of anti-annihilation. Man-made gates will appear red. So now we're going to talk all about the blue gates. That's funny. The pointer stays. Now I can't move my pointer. There we go. Gates in Chrono Trigger. Anyone studying time gates may observe their tendency to appear a short time prior to mass extinction events. Whether this is due to the intervention of some thoughtful greater entity, or if it's the result of anti-annihilation energy coalescing at critical moments in space-time, is not important. It's all up to how you want to look at it, I suppose. Blue gates usually form before a huge catastrophe. Whether this is due to anti-annihilation energy or the entity's will doesn't matter, it's the same result. That's really not too important. I don't know why I was talking about that so much, but here are our examples. If you look at Chrono Trigger, 65 million BC predates the Reptide extinction. 12,000 BC predates the Fallen Continents disaster. 600 AD, the Human Mystic War was a catastrophic loss of life. 1999, the Day of Lavos. These are out of order, I see now. And 1000. Is there a great catastrophe that befell that time? Maybe, and this personally is not a fan favorite theory of mine, but perhaps Chrono, Luca, and Marl were necessary for the planet to not be annihilated, so the anti-annihilation energy formed a gate in their time zone. But I just realized now that when Marl steps onto the telepod and this whole thing starts, she sort of creates the time gate, which happens to be blue. More on that later. Let's just go with what we got for now. And then in 2300, there's a mass extinction event. So there's a gate there too. Next up. Cool. Next up. Chrono Trigger has been called a series of climaxes. This gives gates a lore viable reason why this needs to be worded much better. Natural gates form at times where catastrophic loss of life will occur. Luca calls these catastrophes markers in the ribbon of time. She explains. Okay. Just wanted to get that phrase in there, I guess. Markers in the ribbon of time. This can still be edited, I see. Which time zones did Fate most want to crash into the break? Fate draws her power from the frozen flame. Therefore, the space-times she most wants to time crash into the break are ones in which Lavos succeeded. Fate's plan was to pull in all Lavos' positive time spaces and see his proliferation maximized. Side note, Pico, although also influenced by the flame, does not have the inclination to resist this oversaturation. Blue gates inspire a sense of urgency. And why is that? Because they lead to high crisis points thanks to anti-annihilation. Basically, a player can jump through a blue gate whenever they see one and go to a part of the overworld that's being overrun with monsters. Blue gates point the way to solvable story events. The more gates that appear while you're in the overworld, the worse off your scenario. A healthy break means running around and seeing few gates with not so many monsters leaking into the world. You can judge how good, in quotes, you're doing based on the state of your map. And the final... Wait. Troop. A Toriyama style world. That would be cool. Okay. Final note. It showcases the temporal dominance of Lavos more than simply taking over a single timeline, making the very idea that he's a parasite that infects worlds in many timelines, pushing Lavos' influence into all available time zones and time space. Lavos' positive time spaces have captured the minds of others there. This leads to Lavos cults. Okay. I think that's enough. That was Anti-Annihilation Energy, and I should be making a pretty sweet clip from that file for the next stream, so keep an eye out. It's coming.